Right now, the recent snowstorms could lead to more local flooding this spring, which is not welcome news for those still recovering from last summer's floods.
And a former Badger football great, an NFL player, makes a return to Madison, but this time on a different venture.
Plus, a local business owner is charged thousands of dollars for an internet cancellation fee that is threatening to put her out of business.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Right now, our mind is on snow, but soon Wisconsin could see flooding.
New data from the National Weather Service today shows we are at historically high conditions, primed for flooding once all of this melts. Our Amy Reed joins us now with what that could mean and how it could impact people still dealing with the flooding that we saw, barely 6 months ago, Amy?
Right, it's hard to believe it's even been that long, especially if you had to live it. Many people still don't have their homes repaired and are living in limbo. That's the man photojournalist Brian Troxel and I spoke with today. He's still dealing with what the floods brought and what they took. Snow has replaced water on Curtis Street, but homes don't look better. Still marked with red signs warning that even going inside isn't a good idea.
Come on. Just relax, you'll be fine.
It's a reality Robert Dublin has been living for what feels like eternity. Still dealing with contractors in his home, he instead temporarily rents here.
It just gets so stressful sometimes that I wonder sometimes if I'm going to make it.
Many in Mazomanie aren't much better, but to be fair, it was a lot to handle. Just ask Village Administrator Peter Hebner.
The village just got flipped on its head. We had flooding even in this office here. We're not even in the floodplain.
His office has since been repaired, and the village is getting there too. They're working on future flood mitigation efforts that could keep the same devastation from happening again. And new outlooks from the National Weather Service show that couldn't happen soon enough. Justin Palmer is a hydrologist for the service.
We're looking at conditions going into this spring, this melt season, that are historically high as far as water on the ground and in the river systems.
He said a wet fall, a big snowpack, and ground frozen deep is the perfect setup to another flood. All that we need is a fast snowmelt and rain to push us over.
But we're making it, aren't we?
But for people still dealing with old flooding, new flooding is too much.
There's been a lot of loss since August.
Especially when flooding isn't the only thing life throws.
I think the hardest part more than anything is losing my wife. It would have been 53 years in May.
As if it couldn't get worse, the home he so desperately wants to fix was his wife's parents, passed on to them years ago. And in a time where Robert feels like he's losing everything, nothing would be better than going home.
That's all she could ever think about is, when can we get back to the house? And I didn't have an answer because I didn't know. And now I understand, because I want to get back there too, and now I can't probably.
This flooding from snowmelt is not a guarantee, but an indicator of risk. The National Weather Service said this is a good time to check your insurance policies and make sure you're covered for flooding if you live in an area prone to that.
Amy Reed reporting tonight. Amy, thank you.
Well, there could be a little melting tomorrow, but the precipitation returns over the weekend. Gary with our first alert forecast. Gary?
Yeah, and the big question is what type of precipitation will we see? And the answer to that could be a little bit of everything. Now, right now, we're seeing some light snow across parts of western Iowa and southwestern Minnesota. That batch of precipitation will stay to our north and west for tonight. So while we'll see skies turn cloudy for a time, we should not see any precipitation from it. Low temperatures so far have been in the single digits and lower teens. teens. High temperatures today, generally in the mid to upper 20s. Here in Madison, we topped out at 27. And right now, we're at our low temperature for the day of 11. But the winds are very light, and so we're not expecting much in the way of wind chills. But we do have alert days in the forecast, beginning late tomorrow night into Saturday morning for the possibility for some snow, sleet, and freezing rain with up to a quarter of an inch of ice accumulation that will change to rain on Saturday. And then for snow late Saturday night into Sunday that could bring anywhere from 1 to 5 inches of accumulation, with the heaviest amounts out toward the Mississippi River from late Saturday night into Sunday morning. Tomorrow, though, will be a quiet day. Look for partly sunny skies. High temperature will top out at 34 degrees. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
All right, Gary, thank you. Madison students could soon face random, as-needed metal detector screenings at school. Now, this comes in response to additional safety considerations following a shooting near La Follette High School in September. Students would be wanded down only when school staff and administrators feel the need to increase security for any reason. They say no students would be singled out. Madison police would be contacted if a weapon is found. The school board is set to adopt the proposal on Monday.
New details are emerging in a Beaver Dam apartment explosion from last year. Police say Benjamin Morrow was making explosives on March 5th, 2018, when he died after accidentally detonating the explosives inside his apartment. Newly released documents reveal Morrow made references to the Parkland shooting to co-workers, hinting that something similar could happen at Richelieu Foods, where he worked. He told a female employee, quote, "Don't worry, you will be the first to get out." But police still don't know why Morrow was building explosives or what he was planning to do with them.
We really don't know a lot about Mr. Morrow. What we do know is that he was a quiet, introverted type person. He was a man of faith. He was working at Richelieu, and he kept to himself from what we've gleaned from neighbors and coworkers.
Other interviews reveal Morrow often smelled of mothballs, a scent closely linked to one of the dangerous chemicals he was working with.
The Rock County Sheriff's Office is offering a cash reward for information on a November 17th hit and run that killed a 21-year-old man. William Church of Evansville died after being hit by a car on County Road M near the town of Union. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the Rock County Sheriff's Office or Janesville area Crime Stoppers. Governor Tony Evers' first budget will include nearly $28 million to expand access to a variety of health programs, including Planned Parenthood. The governor's Healthy Women, Healthy Babies proposal, unveiled today, will be in the budget he presents next Thursday. He'll focus on boosting postpartum coverage for mothers insured by Medicaid and increasing grants to address health disparities. Assembly Republicans are proposing $3.7 million to combat homelessness in Wisconsin. That plan also unveiled today. It includes spending $500,000 on a prevention program and creating a new $300,000 program to direct the homeless into stable housing. Republicans also want to spend another $500,000 to bolster grants for shelters and add $900,000 annually to a housing assistance program. Bills fighting homelessness passed last session with bipartisan support.
Authorities seized more than 30 dogs and a parrot from a home in Brown County. Police were called to the home in the town of Eaton after a family member complained a dog had bitten him. Well, officials with two humane societies along with law enforcement rescued the animals from what they called deplorable conditions during a 3-hour operation. The animals are being held at the Humane Society in Green Bay. You'll likely know Chris Borland as a former Badger football star.
Well, now he's taking on a different venture, one you might not expect from a former pro athlete. Our Madeline O'Neill can explain. Maddie?
Eric and Charlotte, Borland is one of the first NFL players to leave the league because of the brain trauma risk football carries. Now Borland partners with Chad McGee from UW-Madison's Center for Healthy Minds to improve the mental well-being of athletes. In a Badger Cafe panel conversation tonight at the Wisconsin Alumni Association, you'll find the two talking about mindfulness and the meditation program they developed for former NFL players and college athletes. Borland says the practice can make a real difference in things like pain management, focus, and resiliency, which can come in handy for anyone.
It isn't a cult, it's not religion. These are breath exercises like athletes lift weights, and it helps your mind. And so the benefits hopefully are universal, and athletes can serve as a good example of that.
UW-Madison is one of the pioneers in studying meditation and its effects on the brain. Borland says leaving football was the right decision for him, and he's currently doing a lot of work with meditation in his home city of Los Angeles. His message to current players is you might be incentivized to play through the pain, but life is long, and it's best to look at the bigger picture. Eric and Charlotte.
All right, Maddie, thank you. And still ahead at 10, a view of Madison not many have witnessed.
But first, a woman's call for action over a cancellation fee of $4,000. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. A woman in Partyville is calling for action over a $4,000 cancellation fee that's threatening to put her out of business.
That had us wondering whether such a high price is even legal and whether companies need to be upfront about those costs. Our Leah Lynchide has the answer tonight.
Inside Partyville, Wisconsin, population 2,000.
You're kind of a one-man show.
A small town paper still takes up a storefront on the main drag.
I actually am everything. I make the paper, I distribute the paper, we mail the paper, I mean, we do everything.
Candace Listina is proud to be one of a handful of small businesses in her small hometown.
We get all the businesses going. We all kind of have to keep each other to be able to keep all the businesses going and keep the downtown going.
But she's facing a challenge that could shut her down.
My problem with it was that the internet was dropping all the time.
Candace inherited a 3-year contract with Frontier Communications for internet service from her mother when she retired from the Partyville shop and handed it down to her daughter. It wasn't going well.
I would have times where I needed to go send my paper. I have deadlines. I have very strict deadlines with my printer, and my internet's out.
6 months into the contract, Candace switched to Charter for better service and a cheaper bill. She expected some type of cancellation fee from Frontier, but nothing like this.
So I actually got a bill that I actually just thought was spam.
More than $4,000, astronomical for a one-room office producing a weekly shopper. Candace looked back at her contract for clarification.
Nothing is ever described of what those cancellation fees actually are, which is that you will pay your entire bill for the rest of the contract.
The company wasn't willing to help. Candace says they even threatened to call collections if she didn't pay up.
They did not really care that I was having such severe problems with the service. That does not bother them.
Is it even legal for a company to be so vague with their terms of service? We asked the Bureau of Consumer Protection to find out, and it turns out it depends on who you are.
For consumers, there's an administrative rule that has been promulgated that has specific disclosures that must be made, and one of them is what are their rights to cancel.
Consumers, that means you or me, the average person buying Wi-Fi for their home. Here's the problem. Candace is considered a business, and businesses fall under a statute that's less specific.
It doesn't say that that service provider must disclose what that cancellation policy is. They can still have one. It's part of the contract and negotiations. That needs to be read by the purchaser.
So what do you do if you're stuck in this situation? We asked that question too. First, write down the answers when you're talking to providers. Take specific notes when you're being pitched a package. Then,
you need to read the contract to make sure that it aligns with what you were verbally told when you made your selection.
If you find your company isn't keeping up its end of the bargain, you can file a report with DATCAP to complain.
We want to see what's happening here. Is this a one-off situation that was a specific contract with this consumer, or is this a practice that we need to be monitoring? And we want to make sure that those laws are followed appropriately.
Candace has not gotten a call from collections yet. In fact, she's having a hard time getting in touch with Frontier.
And there's only so many of the smaller papers left. A lot of the big papers have honestly bought everything out.
Should she lose her battle, though, Partyville loses too.
One less small paper, one less small business.
For News 3 Now, I'm Leah Lynchide.
We are still waiting to hear back from Frontier Communications on Candace's case. They have not responded to our request for comment.
Well, we'd like to thank everyone who took part in our Day of Warmth telethon today. We held it from 4 until 6:30 this evening. News 3 Now partnered with Energy Services, Inc. to raise funds for the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund. And with your help, we raised thousands of dollars, and that money goes to those in our community struggling to keep up with their heating bills in this chilly winter. Thank you again for all of the volunteers, as well as those of you who donated.
And we are getting a unique look at Madison tonight, and it may help beat the winter blues. University Communications senior photographer Jeff Miller took these photos above campus from the open window of a small chartered airplane during the blue hour of dusk on February the 13th.
Yeah, about not too long ago. These photos show campus favorites such as Picnic Point, Camp Randall, the Memorial Union Terrace, and much more. Pretty cool, literally cool. You can see how chilly it is out there. Gary Canalti joining us. We get a break today, we get a break tomorrow, and then it's back, Gary.
Yeah, as soon as late tomorrow night into Saturday morning, and then another round of wintry precipitation late Saturday night into Sunday morning. In fact, we do have alert days for those time periods. The first round will bring us a mix of light sleet, freezing rain, and snow that could bring up to 1/4 inch of ice accumulation. Then we'll change over to rain during the day on Saturdays. Temperatures actually climb up above freezing to around 40. And then as we start to turn colder later Saturday night into Sunday, we'll see the precipitation change to snow. Depending on how quickly it changes, that will determine the snowfall amounts. But right now, we're thinking about a 1 to 5 inch accumulation. The lighter amounts down toward Janesville and areas to the east. Farther to the west, perhaps around Prairie du Chien, northward toward Viroqua, maybe as much as 5 inches of snow. And again, that'll be mainly late Saturday night into Sunday. There could be some blowing snow because of strong winds Sunday afternoon. With the temperatures dropping below freezing, the wet roads may turn icy on Sunday. Doppler track tonight, pretty quiet across Wisconsin. Some light snow showing up across parts of Iowa and Minnesota. This is moving toward the northeast, and the air is still pretty dry to around here, so we're not looking for any snow for tonight. But the freezing rain, that will develop late tomorrow night into Saturday morning. One of the computer models, the USGFS, the very latest update, showing about 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain, maybe some heavier amounts just north of Milwaukee. But the European computer model showing perhaps as much as 1/4 inch or more of freezing rain across areas of our southwestern viewing area, again, late tomorrow night into Saturday morning. And then as we change back to snow Saturday night into Sunday, Sunday, perhaps 1 to 3 inches of snow over southeastern Wisconsin, maybe as much as 2 to 5 inches over our western viewing area, and then a narrow but heavy swath of snow from southeastern Minnesota up into northwestern Wisconsin, perhaps close to a foot in some areas near Eau Claire. That area could shift north or south a little bit depending on the exact path of the storm and the timing of the changeover from rain to snow. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in Madison tonight. Very quiet weather out there tonight, but it is cold. Our high 27, the low is actually the current temperature of 11, and the air is calm, so we're not seeing much of a wind chill to speak of right now. But a very energetic jet stream diving down the west coast of the country and then heading northeastward right through the Midwest, bringing storm after storm right through our part of the country. And here's the next one. You can see a warm front to the south where temperatures south of the front are still well into the 30s, where on our side of the front, they're mainly in the teens and even some single digits above and below zero to our north and to our west. So our forecast calls for mostly cloudy skies overnight, a little colder, low temperature dropping around 10 degrees. For tomorrow, look for a high temperature of 34 as skies turn partly sunny, so a quiet day overall. On future track, again, the skies clouding up overnight, clearing a little bit toward morning with a low of 10. Then high temperatures tomorrow back in the middle 30s. Now tomorrow night, the clouds move in. Here comes that mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow. And then on Saturday, notice it changes over to rain as temperatures climb into the 30s, in some cases around 40 degrees. Freezing rain amounts, again, around 1/10 of an inch, but there could be some heavier amounts to the north and to the east. And then the snowfall amounts, this is mainly Saturday night into Sunday, anywhere from about 1 to 5 inches, the heaviest amounts out toward the Mississippi River. 10-day forecast, another weather system with some lighter snow toward the middle of next week, but temperatures trending colder for next week. In fact, by the following weekend, we could be looking at low temperatures at or below zero and wind chills down to 25 below zero at times. Welcome to March.
Okay. Things can change still.
Yeah, I hope.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Kohl Center, a busy place for the next 3 days for the mayhem that is the individual state wrestling tournament. The story coming up in sports.
The state individual wrestling meet begins at the Kohl Center. Over 500 wrestlers competing in 3 divisions. Division 1 quarterfinals tonight. 285 pounds. Janesville's Keanu Benton is going to play football for the Wisconsin Badgers. He's a heck of a wrestler, too. He takes Mukwanago's Styler Pitchell down, then pins him. That took 255. He also wins in a pin in the quarterfinals, so he's into the Friday semifinals. At 220 pounds, Waunakee's Reed Ryan's going to play football at North Dakota State. He gets a 2-point takedown here, wins a 10-5 quarterfinal decision over Slinger's Bennett Connolly. Also in Division 1, at 106, Stoughton's Nicolar Rivera is ranked in the top 10 in the nation for freshmen. He gets 2 more wins today, so Nicolar Rivera is now 53-0 on the season. Semifinals tomorrow night at 7, finals Saturday afternoon at 5:30. The Bucks go back to work after the All-Star break tonight. The Boston Celtics are at 5-serve form, and Giannis had another night. 30 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. He just kind of tossed guys out of the way. 2 seconds left, 1-point Bucks lead. Boston with the final shot for the win. Kyrie Irving, no good. Final score, Bucks 98, Celtics 97. The Bucks host Minnesota Saturday night. Badger men's basketball heads to Northwestern for a game Saturday night, their first trip to the new Welsh Ryan Arena. The Badgers did enough to beat Illinois Monday night, but by their own admission, they didn't play close to their best game. They want to be more efficient in the paint and convert a higher percentage of their high percentage shots.
That's where you have to convert the most, because that's obviously a higher percentage shot than shooting jumpers. If we can start converting more of those, and that starts with myself included, then we're definitely going to be a better offensive team.
We constantly look each week, how can we attack, maybe in a slight tweak of changing how we're attacking people and taking advantage or countering what they're trying to do to us defensively.
Big Ten tonight, Michigan moved back into a tie for first with Michigan State with a win at Minnesota. Jordan Poole leads the way with 22 points. Final score, Michigan 69, Minnesota 60. Wolverines and Spartans both 13-3 in the conference. Duke's Mike Krzyzewski says he's optimistic Zion Williamson will return soon from his knee sprain. Williamson blew out his left shoe, hurt his right knee 33 seconds into Duke's loss to North Carolina last night. The shoe is a Paul George 2.5 model from Nike. Nike was immediately on damage control. Its stock fell 1% today. Last night, Syracuse's Jim Boeheim coached his team to a win against Louisville, but on the way home, Boeheim got into a car accident that killed a man. There was an earlier accident on Interstate 690 because of bad weather. A passenger in one of the cars got out. Boeheim tried to avoid him but couldn't, and 51-year-old Jorge Jimenez was killed. It appears Boeheim won't face any charges for that incident. The next game of the week, Tuesday, Division III boys basketball between River Valley and Lodi will be on next Tuesday, live 7:15, channel3000.com. And Wisconsin's Annie Pankowski, one of 10 finalists for the Patty Kazmaier Award to the nation's top Division I women's hockey player. 3rd time Pankowski has been a finalist. And we'll be right back.
It appears that Pankowski will seemingly have a one-on-one
There's our 10-day forecast. Again, some freezing rain tomorrow night and some snow Saturday night into Sunday, and then cold for next week.
Gary, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Do something good, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.